Life is going to happen whether you like it or not. No matter how good your life is at any point, life is still going to be life. So you have to be aware of that, and then you have to plan for it. And as Chumbawamba said, when you get knocked down, you need to get back up again, because you're never going to keep me down. Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to another episode of the Prime Life Project podcast. I'm your host, Daniel James, and today it is just me. Now, those of you that are listening to this, or watching this actually on YouTube, will notice that I'm actually not in my normal office studio space. I'm actually at Mikey's studio, which is on the back of a bus. So for anybody that doesn't know the story behind me and Mikey, the way that me and Mikey actually got talking was quite bizarre, wasn't it? It was I was on Instagram Live. Did we even cover this when we had you on?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. So there we go. So a bit of backstory. So the way me and Mikey got talking was someone invited me onto their Instagram Live, talking about mental health and stuff like that, and I'm always up for talking about stuff like that. And when me and this gentleman were on a live, Mikey kept popping up, obviously didn't know who Mikey was then, asking questions, and really good thought-provoking questions. Then afterwards, he approached me saying, "Oh, do you want to come on my podcast?" I was just like, yeah, awesome, son, no problem. He goes, "Oh, it's on a farm on the back of a bus." And I thought, okay, cool. So anyway, I rocked up to this farm, and I was literally just saying this today, wasn't I? Like, I literally was in the worst mental health space or headspace that day. I couldn't be arsed. Had a busy, crazy day. Mikey didn't have any coffee, and it was just a nightmare. And as soon as I got here, and Mikey started talking to me, we flowed, and it was an incredible. As we'll do is we'll stick in the show notes the link to that episode, so you can link back to it, because it's probably one of the best episodes I've ever had where I was a guest on a podcast, and you will really see me and my true authentic self. I had long hair as well, so it's all videos. But anyway, as you may know, Mikey actually has been really, really ill, and the fact that we managed to get the last episode out with Rebecca Dakin just shows how awesome Mikey is. I just wanted to show some love for Mikey, because he wasn't well at all. But again, he soldiered through, got the episode done for us, and then it wiped him out for essentially a week. So I wanted to come here to help him out and make it a little bit easier for him. So this is why the backdrop's changed, but it's made me feel really nervous and anxious, because I feel like I'm being interviewed and a guest on my own podcast. So it's a bit bizarre. I don't have my headphones on. I've got all these cameras and lights on me. I'm in a confined space. I'm panicking. No, I'm not in my normal surroundings. But that said, the vibe of this place is absolutely incredible. So again, I think you're going to see a few more episodes where I'm actually here at Mikey's place, because it makes it a little bit easier for him, so we can actually get the content out and stuff. But today I want to talk about resilience, and it's a topic that I think is quite relevant right now with everything that's going on, and people having to actually become more resilient and not really knowing what's sort of going on. But as always, if this episode makes you think, if it helps you change your perspective, if it, just anything, a little bit of a light bulb moment for you, just do us a massive favour and share it with a friend. Give us some love. Either share the YouTube video, share the link on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, because we don't run ads on this podcast. And someone said this to me the other day. They said, "I love the fact that you don't run adverts." And the reason I don't run them is because I fucking hate them when I'm listening to a podcast and it's an hour long and you've got 10, 15 minutes worth of adverts. It's annoying as fuck. And I'm never, ever, ever going to run adverts on the podcast. Like, at some point, I'd love to get a sponsor, because obviously that will then allow us to grow and actually have something there. But I'm never going to run adverts. That's not how I want to grow this podcast. I want to grow the podcast authentically and genuinely. And that's by you guys sharing the podcast if I do a good job. So if I do a good job and it makes you think, change your perspective on some things, have a bit of a light bulb moment, just do me a solid favour. Either give us a tag or something on Instagram, or just share it with a friend. You guys have been absolutely awesome at that. So keep it up, because you guys, like I said, are absolutely fantastic. And also, before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know about my online coaching and the fact I've got some spaces available. So I get messages on Instagram, people inquiring or asking about how they can work with me. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a plug here about my online coaching and kind of what it's all about before we get into the episode. So my online coaching is very, very simple. The premise of the podcast is to help you both mentally and physically become the best version of yourself. And when you work with me one-to-one online, it's essentially the same thing. I'm trying to help you become mentally and physically the best version of you. So I'll be teaching you about nutrition, about training, about mindset. You get exclusive content from me on there. And you get 12-week educational video series where we literally delve into things like nutrition and how you should set up training programs, so that you not only get the results that you want, but you understand how you got it. There's a massive community feel there. And every single Friday, I do a live workshop. And that's an exclusive workshop for just the online clients. So no one else gets access to that. And you get me on a deeper level. So imagine these podcasts here, like one we'll talk about today, but you get to actually ask me questions. I also get podcast guests, like Mikey, for example, and Craig, that will come back and do exclusive videos just for my online clients. So again, they can then ask my podcast guests these questions. So if you're interested in that at all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Mikey to pop my email address at the bottom of the screen, or it's going to be in the show notes if you're listening to the episode. But essentially, it's danieljames.plp@gmail.com. Just drop me a message saying online coaching, and we'll book a call. It's completely free. Consultation is completely free. I can show you how it all works. But yeah, if you are struggling mentally or physically, then consider working with me one-to-one online. So again, some of the results I'm getting with clients are absolutely incredible. One of my clients lost over £100. I've got clients from all over the world, and I've got some spaces, so I want to share that with you. So that's enough of that. So today we're talking about resilience. I need to get my nice little water here, Mikey. Like I said, I'm nervous. So for me, resilience, I think it's a very relevant topic right now. People, with everything that's gone on in their life, they've had to become resilient, but they're not really quite sure on what resilience is. So I've got two definitions of resilience that are taken from the dictionary. The first one, resilience is the ability for a person to adjust to or recover readily from illness, adversity, or a major life change. So that's the first definition. The second definition is the power or ability of a material to return to its original form, position, or etc. after being bent, compressed, stretched, or elasticated. Now, I like both of them kind of put together. The fact that in life, you are going to be bent, you are going to be compressed, you are going to be stretched, you are going to be pushed to your limits. But how quickly can you bounce back to your original form, your original position? But then not only that, how can you then adjust and become better than before? So how quickly can you bounce back? That for me is resilience. So you've got from where you are in your normal state of life. Again, maybe you were earning a certain amount of money. Maybe you had a certain amount of free time. Maybe your life was set up perfectly for how it was before coronavirus hit and all these other things happened. And then you've had a setback. Maybe you've lost your job. Maybe you're not earning quite as much. Maybe you haven't seen your friends as much. Maybe your fitness has taken a hit. Something along those lines. How quickly can you bounce back to your normal state, that normal form, that place that you want to be? That for me is about resilience. And it's one of those things where it's a skill. When it comes to anything we talk about on this podcast, it is a skill. When my guests come on and talk about something, it is a skill. It's not something you can just, I want to be resilient. Right, you have to then work on being resilient. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone because things will go wrong. And again, that's just life. You can't control life. Life is never going to be perfect. But if you can develop the actual art of being resilient and get yourself back to being normal as quickly and efficiently as possible, then that's going to set you up. Because the problem is, people love to be a victim. And being a victim is almost seen now as like a badge of honour these days. You've got these Facebook posts. I literally can't fucking stand Facebook. Have you noticed this on Facebook nowadays?
Which
people just being like, just beating the victim
I've
mindset.
tried to get out of it now. I've diverted from Facebook.
Oh, it's terrible. I literally only use it for my online coaching clients where I've got a group there, but I rarely use Facebook because you get Facebook posts, Instagram stories, and it's just all about the world's against you, and it's just this whole victim mindset, and I cannot stand the victim mindset. I used to be that victim. I used to love to tell people that, oh, my ex-girlfriend tried to kill me, and you basically, it perpetuates it. It makes things worse because you are then living in this victim mindset, and you're not then allowing yourself to get back to that place of being okay. Because remember, like, your brain doesn't know the difference between thoughts and reality. So if you constantly keep talking about that negative event that's happened, you are literally living in the past. You are literally reliving that past event over and over and over again. And the more you're bitching about that person, more you're bitching about that event, more that you're saying that life's against you, guess what you're doing? You're confirming to yourself that life is against you, that you're not going to get any better, and then that then becomes your reality. And it's just one of those things where it's so frustrating. But in order for us to actually flourish, we need to separate ourselves from that mindset. You need to separate yourself from this victim mindset. Now, I'm not saying that what's happened to you isn't valid. I'm not saying that in the slightest, because some shit that's happened to you in your life could have been extremely fucked up. Again, we've had some podcast guests like Petra, for example, some of my online clients. They've had some fucked up shit happen to them, and it's completely valid. Completely valid, and you have every single right to be pissed off, and you've got every single right to want to talk about it, and you've got every right to be a victim. But where's that going to get you? Where on earth is that going to get you? Yes, life won't be fair, but the more you beat on that victim drum, the more you're stuck in that negativity, you are never, ever, ever going to be able to be the best version of yourself. And that's what I'm trying to get for you guys. Yes, that thing's fucked up. Yes, it wasn't fair. Yes, you didn't deserve it. I get it. I get it. But you have to try and shift from that mindset and actually empower yourself and take responsibility for your life. It's about taking that responsibility, because if you don't take that responsibility, you're always going to be a victim. And where is that going to get you? You can be on that victim drum as much as you like. You can get the biggest drum in the world. I promise you. The only thing you're going to get is other victims reconfirming to you the victim mindset, but you are not going to achieve what you want in your life. I promise you that. I'm not trying to invalidate anything you've been through, because it's very, very fucking valid. Very, very valid. But I promise you, it's not going to get you to where you want to be. You have to learn to face up to what's happened to you and then actually move forward. Because your life doesn't end because of the fucked up shit that happened to you. It's then changing then, I'm going to get Mikey to pop this up on the screen in a second, about understanding the difference between this victim mindset and what we're looking at here is this resilient mindset. So a victim mindset would be things like, things happen beyond my control. You start blaming other people and circumstances for your present reality. So at the minute, like, you are where you are, but you blame other people for it. Oh, it's their fault. This happened to me, blah, 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 blah. And you see failures as a sign to stop. So again, when it comes to podcast, for example, Mikey being ill, we literally couldn't do anything because obviously I was away for a week on holiday. You wouldn't have known because we had episodes coming out. But then when Mikey was ill, we had nothing in the bag. So we had to come up with an inventive way to get a podcast out. Mikey wasn't in a good headspace. But again, we didn't think, oh, we'll just miss this episode. We then managed to put a little collage together. I managed to get my camera out and record something in my thing. We made it work. Like these things, like anything that makes things hard, this discomfort, people avoid discomfort. And again, I mentioned it multiple times on multiple podcasts. I think you mentioned it on your podcast, Mikey, about why I take cold showers. The reason why I take the cold showers is because it's uncomfortable. And discomfort isn't something that should be avoided, because discomfort is the only time that you can actually adapt and grow. Like, we're not born to be comfortable. I've got Mikey here. I'm actually looking at the back of your laptop, and you've got like the evolution of a monkey going up into Homer Simpson. But again, it's what it is. As a species, we have had to become uncomfortable to grow and develop. That is what we are designed to do. The problem is nowadays comfort. Like, comfort is just readily available, and we don't push ourselves. So let me try and flip this into this resilient mindset. So again, when things happen, right, okay, it's happened, but I am in control of my emotional response and how I choose to respond to this situation. Again, I think I mentioned on the last podcast, the dealing with negative thoughts and feelings. We spoke about this. We spoke about the thoughts inside your head. We spoke about stuff. So if that's new to you, about the emotional response, again, go back and listen to previous episodes. I get Mikey to ping it at the bottom. Because again, the information is there to help you with that. But you need to understand that whatever's happening, there is a role. This current experience that we're going through, it's happening for you for a reason. Life is happening for you and not to you. And again, I understand when shit is the fan, you're in that bad place. And me and Mike have said it multiple times. Like, when I was in that depressive state, I could not see how this was going to benefit me in the slightest. Me and Mike were just talking off air about some of the big plans I've got for the podcast and the brand moving forward into potentially the end of this year or next year. And it's massive. But I couldn't do that had I not been depressed. Now, I wouldn't wish depression upon anybody. However, that was life happening for me. Life was saying, if you can overcome this, then I will give you this. And no matter what you're going through, no matter how bad and how dark it is, if you persist and if you build that resilience up and you overcome it, I promise you something amazing will come at the end of it. Now, you may not want to do a podcast. You may not want to be a public speaker. You may not want any of that. But something will come. Maybe someone super close to you in your life, 10 years down the line, will go through something you're going through, but you have now gone through it, you've come to the other side, and then you can actually help them. Maybe it's your kid, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your parents, whatever it is, but if you overcome that, you are then in that position to actually help them, and that's absolutely amazing, because all this feedback that you're getting, all these experiences, provide the feedback for growth. And that's what we want. Again, the Prime Life Project logo, it's there, it's an arrow. The arrow's growing and moving in the right direction. That's the whole point of this. Like, you should be trying to level up. You should be trying to grow and moving in the right direction. You shouldn't be happy with being stagnant. But then, sit with yourself. This resilient mindset. When was the last time you just sat with yourself and actually sat with your thoughts? Now, again, if you've got some sort of PTSD and stuff like that, I'm not talking about necessarily meditating with your eyes closed, because again, that can cause sort of triggers and traumas. So again, don't necessarily sit there with your eyes closed. But when was the last time you just sat there with your thoughts? Maybe jot some things down. Maybe try to do a bit of poetry that Mikey helped me with. Because that's what then I had to do when I went to Cornwall. I wish I'd moved to Cornwall. When I went to Cornwall for the week, I knew that it was going to be very, very uncomfortable. I could feel my mental health. I was just sort of like, something's not quite right. I feel a bit prickly. I spoke to Mike. He said, why don't you try some poetry? And I did. I literally sat there and I observed my thoughts, my behaviours while I was away. And I ended up writing some poetry. Again, we're going to get that posted out at some point. But when was the last time you just actually sat with those thoughts and feelings and thought, what is this? Where has this come from? Rather than trying to suppress it down, with sex. Again, me and Mikey have been very open about that. We've both done that in our lives. Drugs. Again, Mikey's done that before. Alcohol. Whatever it is. Spending money. Whatever it is. Like, rather than doing that, just sit with yourself. I had this weird thought, actually, driving down here. Do you have dreams and then you kind of wake up and forget they were a dream? Driving down here today, I had this understanding that it was bizarre. It was last night, and in that sort of state where you can't dreaming but you're not dreaming, and understanding that I am the only person that I can ever trust, and I have to always back myself at all times. And it was the most... I've not even really thought about it until literally just now, but I don't know if I can articulate it properly, but you have to back yourself. You have to get to know yourself. You have to. Because you are the only person that's ever going to be there with you. And the problem is, we are so inside our own heads, and we have absolutely no control. And our reality is purely a reflection of what's going on inside our heads. The conversations that we're having inside our heads. And what are the conversations that we're having? The conversations are us asking ourselves questions. What is the quality of the questions that you are asking yourself? Are you coming from a victim mindset? Why me? Why me? Why me? Or are you coming from a, right, what can we learn? How can we grow? Because as soon as you ask yourself the right question, your brain will come up with the right answer. And it's you. It's not Mikey. It's not your girlfriend. It's not your partner. It's not your friends. It's you. Only you know you better than you. So why not actually get to know yourself better? Why not spend some time alone and observe those thoughts, observe your feelings, observe your behaviours, and then learn and grow? Why was I a dickhead? Fucking hell, I don't know. Let's have a little sit back. Let's have a little bit of a think. And I call it a challenge response. So you get this bad situation that happens. Well, actually, you need to pop this up on the board thing as well. You get a bad situation, and you've got two choices. Bad situation happens to you. You can be the victim. You can cry about it. You can moan about it. You can say the world's against you. But why me? Why me? Or you can evoke the challenge response and ask yourself, what can I take from this situation that will help me pursue personal growth and progress? But this isn't going to be something that happens straight away. This bad situation is going to happen, and you're automatically going to fall into that old mindset of, because again, we're just patterns repeating constantly over and over again. So you're going to fall back into old habits and patterns. But the quicker you can just ask yourself, catch yourself, right, how's this situation going to help me? What can I learn from it? It may not happen that day. It may not even happen that week. It may take you 2, 3, 4 weeks. But the sooner that you ask yourself that question and you learn from it, you're teaching yourself how to actually get the response that you want. Because ultimately, in that situation, you don't want to be a victim. The problem is society perpetuates that, and it makes it easy to be the victim. But you don't want that. No one wants to feel shit. And you know deep down that the more you play that victim mindset in your head, you feel worse. Let's try and empower ourselves by asking ourselves the right questions. What can I take from this situation? And even if it is something so small that I'm never going to make that mistake again, cool. Lesson learned. And again, I've said this multiple times throughout the podcast. It is impossible to fail if you learn from the experience. Because then by definition, that failure becomes a lesson. And that's what you want. You want to try and turn these lessons into failures. The problem is, like, people try and go through life and just suppress things from happening, try and make life all perfect. And life isn't perfect. And the worst form of stress is an absence of stress, because the feeling that there is no life before death gives rise to the despairing feeling of emptiness in the face of the void. And that's from a quote by a guy called Boris Kyrulygin. Don't know what that is, but I thought it was a really nice little quote there, because building resilience isn't about seeking out stress. I'm not saying that you want to automatically go out in your life and seek out stress and be like, I need to build resilience, I need to find stressful situations, I need to mess up, I need to fail, I need to build this muscle. No, you're not trying to build up this resilience muscle by seeking out stress. It's just understanding that life happens. Life is going to happen whether you like it or not. No matter how good your life is at any point, life is still going to be life. So you have to be aware of that, and then you have to plan for it. And as Chumbawamba said, when you get knocked down, you need to get back up again, because you're never going to keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. That needs to be the attitude that you have in life. That has to be the attitude you have in life. And when you get knocked down, get back up again. Don't allow the world to keep you down. going to play that song over there now,
Yeah.
dancing away. So there's a Stoic philosophy called premeditation of evils. Basically, the whole point of this is about don't be naive about life and understand that nothing lasts forever, and understand and humble yourself periodically about things not being okay. So the theory is that it helps you build this psychological armor to help endure hardships of life. So it's understanding that nothing lasts forever, but can you just humble yourself when you're in that good headspace? Because I've mentioned this again on other previous podcasts. I didn't actually realise this was a Stoic philosophy about when you're in a good space, you want to build your defences higher. So again, I liken mental health to a castle, a medieval castle. So when you're in a bad mental health space, you are literally, your walls are being absolutely destroyed. Like life is just throwing trebuchets at you, getting cannon fire, whatever it is, just destroying your walls. But then when you're in a good headspace, that's the time to learn, build and develop your walls bigger and stronger than ever. But don't then be so naive to think that you've now built these walls bigger and stronger that the mental health isn't going to come back and hit you in the ass, or that life isn't going to happen again. It's understanding and reminding yourself that actually it could go back there. So you're not living in fear, you're just humbling yourself. Because pride becomes before a fall. And if you think your walls are so great, high and mighty that your life is perfect and nothing's ever going to go wrong, you are setting yourself up for a horrific fall. And we spoke about the positivity paradox. So remember the positivity paradox, spoke about the better you feel, the higher the fall when you go back to feeling back quote unquote normal again. But if you can just periodically remind yourself, but yeah, remember when I felt really shit that time? Yeah, but yeah, that was pretty crap, that was. I could go back there again. But I'm not going to. But just keeping it there. And there's a guy called Seneca from the Stoic periods, and he was basically essentially an entrepreneur. So he owned multiple properties. He was very, very wealthy and very, very successful. But every few months, he would sleep on his kitchen floor with his dog and eat nothing but stale bread and water, because he said he did this to remind himself that he would be okay if he lost everything. And he said it freed him from the worry of failure and gave him the confidence that he would be okay no matter what. Again, backing yourself. He backed himself. I will be okay if I lose everything. He was essentially, again, multiple properties, very, very wealthy, very, very successful. But even he was humbling himself. If I lost everything, would I be okay? So he just took himself back to that place again. Because the problem is, we think we need a lot more than we actually do to survive. All you really need is yourself. Very, very minimal money. And at the end of the day, if push came to shove, I can guarantee you that you could sell a lot of things in your house and you'd be fine. You could live in your car, probably for a month, and you'd be absolutely fine. Now again, I know some of you have got kids and you've got other people to consider, but if push came to shove, you would find a way. But as I said before, we're too used to being comfortable. We think we need all these amazing things when we really don't. All we really need is to be able to back ourselves. Society makes us think that genuinely we just need all these things. And I spoke before about this society, and I'm going to get someone on to talk about this. Like, we'll go on a conspiracy rabbit hole one day about society. We'll say conspiracy theories. If you hear about the drones now, that drones can make...
Oh dear, what's happening?
In Dubai, they're making it rain.
No, I've heard about people tampering with the weather before.
Yeah, and again, that's maybe a conspiracy theory, but again, actually, it was in the news, on BBC News.
Wow.
The heat wave in Dubai, they actually had drones to make it rain.
Wow.
So they're actually altering the weather. It's not
Science,
conspiracy.
man.
Yeah, they're
Science.
nuts in it. So
always comes through, it's true.
But ultimately, we can cope with a lot less than we think that we can. So this is a quote from Seneca. He robs present ills of their power, who has perceived their coming beforehand. Say it one more time. He robs present ills of their power. So anything bad that happens to you, you rob it of its power, who has perceived their comings beforehand. If you have preempted it could happen. So if you understand that things could go wrong, you make it lose its power. So I think I've spoke about this on an Instagram live that I did, when it comes to people like Michael Phelps, visualization. The power of visualization in Michael Phelps, on the last time he was in the Olympics, his goggles filled up with water on the last lap, I think you call it, or whatever it is. He still won gold, and he basically was asked at the end of the race in the interview, said, how did it feel to swim with your goggles full of water? And he said, it felt exactly how I imagined it would, because he'd visualised for any eventuality. He used to train in the dark. The lights used to get turned off. He used to visualise what happened if his suit ripped, if his goggles filled with water. He had prepared for any eventuality. Because if it did happen then, he robbed it of its power. Because imagine swimming and not thinking, oh, my goggles are filled with water. It happens, you then freak out. And again, especially with those fine margins in elite sport, that 1 second of panic could have cost him the race. So again, let's just apply that to our everyday lives. What could happen if I lost everything? Okay, well, I did this. Okay, I'd be okay. I thought about this the other day. What would happen with me? Well, I'd sell my coffee machine, I'd sell my car, I'd sell my phone, I'd sell my tablet, I'd sell my laptop. Okay, there's at least a couple of £5,000 probably there. Again, if I'm talking about selling things cheap just to get some, I will be fine. Once you understand that, it then allows you to be like, I'll be okay. Because as long as you've got yourself and you back yourself and you trust yourself, that's all you really need. Second quote from Seneca. Everyone approaches a danger with more courage if he has prepared in advance how to confront it. Anyone can endure difficulties better if he has previously practiced how to deal with them. People who are unprepared can be unhinged by even of the smallest things. Again, very, very powerful. Let's unpick that. Like, you need to be able to confront your fears in advance. Like, all the stuff that potentially could go wrong. Just face it. You're not living in fear. We're not talking about living in fear here. We're not talking about that at all. Because again, I know a lot of people get anxious about worrying about bad things happening. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about just that little thing being like, okay, I did it. Your mate Jody.
Oh yeah.
Jody. So we're going to hear more from Mikey's mate Jody. Going to be on the podcast. He gave me an amazing analogy about mental health. I use the analogy of a baby. He said, I'm stealing it from him, so I'm giving kudos to it. It's like being on a tropical island. Which again, I said I've never been on a tropical island, but again, you'll get the premise of this. That you can be having a beautiful sunny day. We all live in Britain. Most of us listen to podcasts. Again, I've got some American listeners and all around the world. But essentially, you know, you can have a really sunny day, and literally just like that, clouds can come, thunderstorms or rain. You should always have that kind of mentality. You're not worrying about the rain. You're enjoying the sun. You're enjoying the present moment. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking, if it rains, I've got my cagoule, my waterproof jacket in the car. Like, you're always preparing for it. Like, again, British summer. We know if we have a barbecue, chances are it can rain. So we have a backup plan. You've always got to just be aware. You don't worry about the rain. It could happen. What would I do if it did happen? That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about sitting on a beach and literally living in fear that it could rain at any moment, because that's not enjoying life. That's not enjoying the present moment. What we're talking about here is just being like, it could rain. It could go wrong. What would that look like, and how would I deal with that? Okay, awesome. Let's crack on. And again, one of the questions I ask my clients, again from the online one-to-one coaching, is what's the situation that might stress you out today? Okay, could be this. And what's the way your best self would deal with that? Because that's all you're doing there. You're just asking yourself, what's the situation that could stress me out today? Right, what could stress me out today? I've got a meeting with that boss. Oh, fucking hell, what a dickhead. I hate talking to him. He talks to me like shit, blah, blah, blah. Right, how's your best self going to deal with that? Well, do you know what? I'm going to remember I actually need this job. Actually, he's doing me a massive favour here, blah, blah, blah. He's under a lot of stress. It then completely changes how you approach that situation. You're not worrying about what could go wrong. You should know, actually, yeah, my boss, he's a little bit temperamental, like a little bit argumentative. Right, it's got to be my A game here a little bit. You're preempting it, but then you're not worrying about it. You're just making a bit of an action plan. And that's how it should be. But developing resilience isn't for the faint of hearted. But neither's life. Neither's life. Life is never, ever going to be easy. That's not what it is. And they've got another quote here from, I wish I'd researched people's names beforehand. I'm terrible at this. Epictetus. We're going to say Epictetus. It says, take example from wrestling masters. Has the boy fallen down? Get up again, they say. Wrestle again until you have made yourself strong. That's the sort of attitude you should have. For both ruin and salvation have their sources within you. So no matter what happens when you get knocked down, you have the choice. Are you going to let it ruin you, or are you going to let it make you? Constantly get back up again. Be a weed. Thrive and survive. Because people want life to be perfect. People want life to be amazing. It's not ever going to be that way. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. The sooner you understand that life can be a shit show, life can be hard, and you understand that it won't get better, only you can get better. You level up. You can't change the world. You can't change life. Who the fuck are you to think that you can change other people around you? Who the fuck are you to think you can actually change the whole world? The world doesn't owe you anything. You have to change yourself. You have to level up yourself. When you level up yourself, you give permission for people around you to level up. Be a weed. Thrive and survive. Set the example to people. If you want people to follow suit in you and what you're doing and how you're achieving things in life, you have to lead the way. You have to do the hard work. And again, yes, it sucks, but what other choice do you have? Again, beat on that victim drum if you want to, but I promise you, you will not get out of life what you want. It's as simple as that. And breathe. I've really enjoyed this today. On this,
You smashed it.
Mate, I feel like this bus just gives me aura. It's all the positive vibes on this bus.
Really enjoyed this.
So, like I said, when it comes to the podcast, if you took anything from that, if it made you think, which hopefully it did, then just like and share it. Just share it with a friend. Help us just spread the word. We've got some amazing things to come. We've got some really cool guests lined up. I'm going to have Mikey on more as well. I'm going to have him as a new co-host. Heather and Charlotte are still around, but it's just really hard to get all of us together. But so, like I said, Mikey, he came and actually did a talk for my online clients about creative writing and stuff, and again, you just got expansive knowledge of stuff that I know can help you guys. So I want to get him on the podcast more to basically help you guys level up along the way. Again, if anyone's interested in the online coaching, feel free to drop me a message, DM on Instagram as well, Daniel_James_fitness, or drop me an email, danieljames.plp@gmail.com. More than happy to have a conversation with you, completely free consultation. And again, you can ask me any questions that you want. It's been a pleasure as always. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week.